Let's go with the Hanshin Tigers guys. Let's group them together. Hiroto
Okay.
Saiki and Shoki Murakami. So I think Shoki Murakami, if we talked last year at this time, we would have viewed him as a top five pitcher for sure. I mean, it was he won MVP and Rookie of the Year in 2023. Super low walk rate, another command specialist, and I think all five of his pitches had a opponent batting average below 200 in 2023. So just a guy that was just absolutely painting and doing a lot of things right. But kind of a big step back in 2024. Like he was still good, obviously, but especially against lefties. I mean, it was a 737 OPS against lefties, whereas it was a 536 against righties. So or other way around actually. So it's a reverse splits issue. And I just think the cutter is not that effective against righties. Um, but I still think he has excellent command. I really like that split finger. So, I'm thinking that Murakami can bounce back this year. And then with Saiki, I mean, it's an elite fastball, 2,900 plus RPM at the Premier 12 on
Mhm.
his four seam, 124 stuff plus. It has the best run value for fastballs in MPB since 2023. I think he locates it well up in the zone as well. The secondaries don't really pop off the page that much for me, but I think they're good enough. So yeah, what do you think of Saiki and Murakami, and who do you think is honestly like their ace? Who's the better pitcher for 2025?
Yeah, if you had talked to me in like last offseason, I probably would have said Murakami, but I think I'm gonna go Psyche. And this is when we can use the term invisible. Like
Yeah,
this is an actual invisible. He just does something that's a little bit different, a little bit unique, and the ball just jumps on dudes. And like you said, 2,900 RPMs on the four seam. Like he can backspin a fastball. I
yeah,
really like when they're like close up on the grips and you can just like see the ball come off his hand and you're like, wow, that's like pure backspin. Like
yeah,
he's efficiently backspinning a fastball. And I think that's the biggest thing for him, right? Is I mean, he's able to throw that pitch relatively hard, around 91, 92. And, he's just able to like, run that pitch up. And yeah, I don't really care about the other pitches. And if that makes sense, like, I like the slider, splits fine. The curveball is really, really slow. Like, okay, cool. Like it's all about getting back to the fastball. Like that those other pitches just keep guys off of the pitch
yeah,
that he's going to get guys out with. And I don't think it's going to be like a ton of strikeouts or a ton of like whiffs. I think he does get strikeouts and he does pick up stuff like that. But I think it's all about like just keeping the ball in the yard and just moving on. And I think that where they play too, like that dirt infield,
yeah,
um, we've had conversations about this with like DRS. Like, does the dirt infield like impact like how we should be like looking at like Hanshin like DRS on the infield? Like, does it slow down the ball almost? Because it's also like that clay dirt where it kind of
yes,
like slows the ball down. So the fact that these two guys can like somewhat, I think Psyche's way less ground ball reliant than a guy like Murakami is, but the fact that he can just keep the ball in the yard and get ground balls occasionally, and then those ground balls get gobbled up is huge. I will say his ground balls, like there's a lot of like faint blue on his like stuff when you look at like ground ball percentage for Psyche, and he's more like, letting the ball get in the air. But I still think he's able to keep the ball in the yard, which is like the biggest thing to
yeah.
me. And their fastball is really, really good. Murakami, on the other hand, like again, not a ton of ground balls, but like again, when those guys do go ground balls at Hanshin, I feel like they get an out.
Yeah.
like it turns into an out somehow. So again, uh, it's a deeper mix for Shoki, but I just don't love his stuff. I think it's like above average. It's average. Whereas like he doesn't do an elite thing like Psyche does. So I think I would lean Psyche over Murakami, but I do like the like deep mix of Shoki. And I think when he's at his best, he's kind of mixing pitches. He's mixing the cutter and the split with the four seam. He's throwing the curveball that's really, really slow. He kind of has like two different curveballs. He has like a normal like 115, 110 kmph curveball, and then he has like a really slow one at like
Yeah.
103. So he kind of like does that where he kind of like mixes those two pitches. And Yeah, I like his like depth of his mix, but I just don't think he does one skill particularly like really, really well like Saiki does.